Welcome to the Friday Spotlight Energy Report for January 7th, 2011. Hosted by Jed Knutson, Shona Kay, and Julia Batchison. Here is Shona Kay with this week's major headlines.
Thanks, Jed. The Obama administration announced on Monday that 13 companies may resume deepwater gas and oil drilling within the Gulf of Mexico. The work at 16 wells was halted after the Deepwater Horizon oil rig exploded in April 2010. Chevron USA, Hess, Kerr-McGee Oil and Gas, and Shell Offshore are now permitted to resume work on the 16 wells they were drilling earlier in 2010. According to the administration, some of the companies may begin drilling next week. Bureau of Oceanic Energy Management Director Michael R. Bromwich said, for those companies that were in the midst of operations at the time of the deepwater suspensions, today's notification is a significant step towards resuming their permitted activity. The Energy Ministry in India announced that by 2022, the country is aiming to have a renewable source power generation capacity of 72,400 megawatts. That is quadruple the current capacity of 18,321 megawatts. It represents a renewable source increase from 11 to 15.9% of total capacity. Atomic Energy Organization head Ali Akbar Salehi reported that the first nuclear power plant in Iran will be operating in February. The country is currently under international sanctions due to this controversial nuclear program, which some believe is a cover for atomic weapons development. Iran claims that nuclear technology is needed for medical research and electricity generation. By mid-January, Iran plans to conduct the necessary tests on the 1,000-megawatt reactor. Russian state-owned Rosatom has agreed to supply the plant with uranium and remove spent fuel. 3 oil industry groups have requested that a U.S. Environmental Protection Agency decision permitting sales of 15% ethanol gasoline be overturned by an appeals court. The requesting parties asked a Washington federal appeals court to determine whether the EPA decision is a violation of the Clean Air Act. On October 13th, the EPA granted a request made by ethanol producers to increase concentrations of the fuel additive within gasoline for 2007 and new model year vehicles. Previously, the ethanol limit was 10%. Now over to Jed for our top energy news stories in the United States.
Thanks, Shona. In a recent move by the U.S. Interior Department, federal waters located south of Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard were made available for lease to wind project developers. The department, in conjunction with the administration of Massachusetts Governor Deval Patrick, plans to locate wind turbines there. These will produce as much as 4,000 megawatts of electricity, enough to power 1.7 million Massachusetts homes. Outgoing Massachusetts Secretary of Energy and the Environment, Ian Bowles, stated that Cape Wind critics have long pushed for deep-water wind farms. This is what they've championed for years, he stated. It's what they wanted. Mr. Bowles is a supporter of wind energy. He said, "Let there be no question that Massachusetts is and will be the nation's offshore wind leader, spurring technological innovation and technology to reduce costs and improve performance." Late last week, Mr. Bowles also announced a plan designed to sharply reduce the greenhouse gas emissions within the state. The Massachusetts Clean Energy and Climate Plan for 2020 calls for an emission reduction of 35% from 1990 levels by 2020. Mr. Bowles referred to the document as a roadmap of multiple routes, requiring diligence in order for Massachusetts to meet its goals and assist with reducing climate change. It is the result of 2 years of work and 8 public hearings. He stated that costs to businesses or residents will not be more than what they receive in savings. In a law that took effect January 1, power suppliers selling electricity within Maryland will be required to purchase more energy from solar power sources. This law speeds up the time frame for incorporating solar energy into the Maryland Renewables Portfolio Standard. While increasing the use of environmentally friendly renewable energy, the move should also create solar power industry jobs. California just became the first state subject to a federal law regarding an energy efficiency standard for light bulbs. The standard, part of the Energy Independence and Security Act of 2007, dictates that 100-watt light bulbs produced on or after a certain date are required to reduce energy consumption by 28% from that of an incandescent bulb of 100 watts. This equates to bulbs using no more than 72 watts of power. The Republican Party has already shown resistance to the federal legislation and is expected to fight the implementation of any countrywide legislation regarding this issue. Now over to Julia for more energy news from around the world.
Thanks, Jed. The Ankara Parliament in Turkey recently approved legislation that establishes guaranteed prices for renewable energy. Hydroelectric and wind energy generated within licensed plants will carry a price of 7.3 US cents per kilowatt hour. Solar energy will cost 13.3 cents. The geothermal energy cost will be 10.5 cents. Turkey is attempting to reduce its dependence on gas, which it imports from Russia and Iran. It is also turning to renewable energy sources as a way to meet its 7% annual increase in power demand. Energy Minister Taner Yildiz stated that this legislation could attract investments of $30 billion within 20,000 megawatts of capacity. Toshiba Corporation unit Westinghouse Electric Company will assist China's State Nuclear Power Technology Corporation with development of a new kind of nuclear reactor. The reactor will help China meet its increasing atomic power demand. 3 years ago, Westinghouse sold China 4 AP1000 units. State Nuclear Power will lead the development of the 2 new CAP1400 reactors. State Nuclear Power Director of General Office Gao Hengbo reported that the first reactor should begin construction in 2013, with a startup date in 2017. Approximately 6 months after construction has begun, the development of the second reactor may begin. Now it is time for this week's energy tip. This week we would like to concentrate on how the average person wastes fuel in their driving habits. One of the biggest myths surrounding the operation of vehicles during the winter is that the car needs to be warmed up in order to operate more efficiently. When a car is idling, it is doing nothing more than wasting gasoline. Your car needs no more than 30 seconds of idling time before you begin to drive it. Hard driving and speeding will also take its toll on your miles per gallon average. Traveling over the speed of 60 miles per hour, sudden accelerations, and hard braking all reduce the performance of the vehicle. Cars can suffer as much as a 33% reduction in the miles per gallon rating by driving in this manner. It is also important to remove extra weight from the vehicle. We are all guilty of leaving heavy items in our trunk and loading up our back seats with unnecessary things. As these items begin to accumulate, the combined weight will reduce how many miles the car gets to the gallon. On average, a car loses about 2% of its performance for every 100 pounds added to its natural weight. That is your energy news and tip for this week. For more headlines, visit us at worldenergymedia.com. This is Julia Batchison for Jed Knutson and Shona Kay at World Energy Media. Thanks for watching and have a great day.